So it was a long road, and we spent some time. We just dropped nearly 4 hours into Tekken 6. I think that's also important because for the sake of this legacy, Tekken 6 is the only other Tekken game that I think I put the least amount of time into next to Tekken 2. So there was a lot of unfamiliarity with like how this game even operates, and I realized that I had not even played the scenario campaign back in the day. I think I played a little bit of like online co-op stuff when it came to the Tekken Force mode, the beat 'em up mode. I just kind of wanted to go through and see everything that's kind of in here to ultimately realize what Tekken 6 is really good at and what it's really bad at, which is funny. Number one, what is this shit good at? Visuals. And I have to give Tekken 6 a lot of credit. Visually, this game kind of holds up. I even learned that a lot of folks still consider Tekken 6 artistically, visually, better looking than even Tekken 7, where some elements of how the game looks sort of change from this point forward, but it is a good looking game. It's running at like 720p. It's running at like a really low resolution. It might actually be even lower, to be honest, but the majority of elements in this game come together very well. You start to realize that Tekken 5 was the foundation of what Tekken would be. It was like the building blocks. All the other things that built up to Tekken 5 were kind of like different and odd. Tekken 4 and Tekken 3 had their own identity. And 5 was like, oh, okay, this shit's fun. Tekken 5 is really good. 6 was obviously trying to push Tekken 5 forward. So there's like pretty different animations, character models, like there's a lot of big upgrades here that obviously are expensive and necessary. But as you play through it, you ultimately feel that I am just playing Tekken 7. All I'm doing is just playing modern day Tekken again, but the characters have way less things. And how mechanics work in this game are just switched around a little bit. The perspective, and I'd like to talk about the overall like feelings of Tekken 6 back in the mid 2000s when it came out. There wasn't exactly animosity towards this game, and I was relatively excited for it. I pre-ordered it the day it came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to get into a Tekken with like good online, because Dark Resurrection was just like, woof, the online was so bad. Unfortunately, that continued directly over into Tekken 6.
Oh my god. How's the input? How's the connection? Okay, I have to psychically enter what I'm doing. I have to like enter what I'm doing about an hour before I did it.
This game arguably has like the same netcode that Dark Resurrection had, and it was brutal, man. I think I started up Lars in this game, and then within, I believe it was 48 hours, I'm like, I'm not touching this shit again. I can't do it. And that was before all of us like had arcade sticks and stuff like that. I think I had my old Virtua Fighter 5 stick on Xbox 360, but I just hit a wall. I was like, I am not having fun. There's a lot of folks that stick with Tekken 6, but you have to remind yourself, this is not the first version of this game. This game came out in like 2007. That was vanilla Tekken 6. And then you get Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, which introduces like some stuff and goes through some changes and obviously adds things just like Dark Resurrection did for Tekken 5. But that's the version we're getting here. Tekken 6 is the Bloodline Rebellion version, which is why the console edition was delayed so much over here in the US and other places outside of Japan. It's funny because I think this game actually plays pretty well because it is that foundation that would go forward. Like the speed of the game, like everything kind of feels about right, you know? Everything feels like pretty good. It's just the limitations on certain things is funny. Let's also talk about like this impression of the game, because I dropped off of it even though people kept playing it. It sells pretty good. It sells like 3 to 4 million copies, so that's not bad, but it does not reach what Tekken 5 or Tekken 3 would eventually reach. It does okay, long story short, but it doesn't light the world on fire. This is around the time Street Fighter's coming back. What exactly turned people off about Tekken 6? I'll try to summarize what I think it is outside of shitty online. This became a combo game. Tekken had combos before. Juggles were always a part of Tekken from like the very beginning. But in this game, they were clearly ready to add systems to its combos. We obviously get the bound system in this game. You literally spike the opponent into the ground. It allows for an extension, all this kind of stuff. So now combos have a structure where it's like opener, a filler, a spike / a bound, which is a new mechanic, and then an ender of some kind. But then you also have stages. So now stages are also hugely expanded from Tekken 5. They aren't just walls anymore. We reintroduce infinite stages, and it has everything now, right? So there's also wall combos, and you could bound at the wall, and there's extensions there. There's also stage breaks. There's also wall breaks. There's a whole bunch of stuff to extend the combo system of the game. So now you really got to learn combos. Now you're gonna have to learn this shit. And for a lot of people, this is now quintessential Tekken going forward. Like the combos of Tekken are just the way they are, and that system is from Tekken 6. It's one of the things I like about Tekken is that when you land your combo, it's this whole situational awareness thing of getting to the wall and the corner carry and the wall push, and some characters are better better at that. I actually really enjoyed that element of Tekken in Tekken 7, especially because that's the one I put the most time into. Going back to Tekken 6 and realizing that's there is cool, but it's fucked up, dude. Everything is fucked up. Like, some characters are so much better at it than others. Bob and Lars just dominate this fucking game. So what's so busted about this guy? He does have Weibo. Is that natural? No way that's natural. Okay, if it is, then he's probably busted. What the f— Wait! 0 on block? Oh my god. That blows my mind that you get 40 damage for that, and it's like probably safe, right? Forward 2-3 has insane range. What the? These are some Street Fighter moves, dude. What is this shit? Why is it so fast? Oh, that's his 12th frame? Oh my god. Speed and weight. And it didn't help that impression-wise, from a competition standpoint, the Mishimas are like not super great in this one. Story-wise, a completely different story. At places like Evo, when we're going to go watch Tekken 6, it's mostly Bobs. It's like the combination of Bobs and Lars and the notorious Evo, where there's like 5 or 6 Bobs in Evo top 8. It was like arguably one of the worst top 8s in Evo history. It's rough, man. Like there's just certain parts of it that just don't hit from like a visual standpoint competitively. The people are really into characters dominate super hard, but it is enjoyable, right? In my opinion, revisit it now, there's still a lot of fun to be had here. Just seeing how busted shit is, how ridiculous Bob is as a character, and how much damage Lars just does on everything, dude. Again, like 3D fighting games are really hard to make, so you can't really blame the devs for this. They were figuring this shit out, and they eventually get till Tekken 7 until they really actually figure it out. That's the overall perspective. It's not a bad game by any means. It's just, in terms of raw gameplay, it doesn't hit every single audience in the same way that a Tekken 5 does or a Tekken 3 does back in the day. That's pretty much it. Again, a super important game because the foundation of what Tekken would be from this point forward, the foundation was 5, the refinement was 6, and further refining in Tag 2, and obviously 7, and now obviously 8. It's the same shit, man. If you're good at Tekken 5, Tekken 6, you're going to be good at modern Tekken. So, let's talk about the other stuff. The roster's great. It's huge. There's a shit ton of characters in this game. A huge casual draw that continues over from Soul Calibur 3 as well as Tekken 5 and its customization. And we don't see customization get that much better in Tekken outside of maybe Tag 2 because I think it just carries over most stuff. Well, I have to go back and see it because it's been a long time. We get like real crazy customization in this game. Like you can change several parts on the body pieces of characters. You can change several parts on the head. You can change like the front, the middle, the back, the left, the right, like all this stuff on the character's hair that is like, dude, there's a shit ton of options here. So customization, they kind of go ham. You can make some very interesting characters in here. The funny part is that I thought this game was in a situation where they got like DLC for parts and stuff like that. But no, that wouldn't come till way later with like Soul Calibur 5. There was never any expansion of that stuff because this was just before microtransactions existed. They were around a little bit, right? There was still horse armor in Elder Scrolls and stuff, but they had not figured that out for Tekken yet. Like a model to upgrade the games to start early Tekken 6 vanilla. No, they just waited till the game got updated in arcades and then released that one. That means that there was no additions made to Tekken 6 at all. No new gear, no extra costumes, like nothing. There was, granted, a ton of content in here and characters get like 4 costumes each or some shit. And it's great. It's really fully featured. Like it's a full package ass game. Until you start getting into some of the other stuff. Tekken goes for what is now a cinematic story mode, right? They're like, hey, we want a cinematic ass story mode in Tekken. I thought I played through Scenario Campaign before. I thought, man. And then we went and checked it out. And I'm seeing cutscenes I've just never seen before. I'm like, maybe I just didn't play this. I guess I didn't. I think I really got turned off from the online so much of this game that I just didn't try it back in the day. So we start firing it up, and it's very expensive. It's like, dang, big CG cutscenes all over the place. There's guns and shooting and bang, bang, hoo-ha, and all this. Like, dang, man, and Lars is an anime hero, and he's the main character, and it's like, whoa, this is nuts. Starts off at the beginning as like, this is going to be really cool. This is actually not that much different from Tekken 7 or Tekken 8 story modes. Very cool. And then it just doesn't move, like at all. This is so fucking exciting, chat. I tell you what, this scene so far is so exciting. I've been watching characters go through things and walk through stuff. It's almost over. It's like a tree in the forest, and you're waiting for that tree to make its way to the ocean. The direction is so bad that you're just waiting for things to happen, and characters are just walking from point A to point B, and nothing's happening. And then they talk about like backstory, and they're just standing around talking, like nothing interesting is happening. So anyway, and then you eventually get into a Tekken Force mode that's kind of hard to control. Then you have to use the D-pad, and it's a little bit better. And I'm kind of having fun with that part. And then it like is quickly over, and they're like, "Hey, back to talking." And it's like, oh man, jeez, now we're back to talking. Oh my god. Scenario campaign, from what I understand, goes on for a really long time. It's actually super long. There's a lot of effort put into this. It's just not good. It's not good in a bad way either, where some things are so bad they're good. It's like, oh, this is painful to watch, but man, is it hilarious. Those moments are kind of far in between, so I don't know if scenario campaign is just something that I'm really gonna wait to get into. None of the story elements are bringing it together in a way that's like captivating, and they want us to like actually move forward and tell a story and evolve characters. It's like, dude, I don't know, man. So it might get better, but I just did not feel like I wanted to continue it. Here's what's crazy about this game, and also what I think what might have contributed to the overall sentiment that I was seeing a lot of people show up today, and there's like, this is the worst Tekken game. And some people are like, this is the best one. So there's some very conflicting opinions here. I think most people will sort of acknowledge that Tekken 4 is easily one of like the weirdest Tekken games and also one of the most unsuccessful ones. And that game's shortcomings are fairly obvious, but Tekken 6's shortcomings are kind of go wrong, but it doesn't go wrong. It sells pretty good. Like, I think the problem is in comparison to Tekken 5, Tekken 6 just doesn't feel like it has that identity. And here's one giant problem with that. For some reason, story mode and endings, like arcade mode and endings, are just like a staple when it comes to every single one of these Tekken games, right? And it's part of the casual draw. We have concluded that Tekken is a franchise that is literally carried by its casual fan base. And it has arguably a bigger casual fan base at this point than even a franchise like Street Fighter, right? Because these games actually focus on putting content into their games when they come out. Tekken is literally like the ultimate fighting game for casuals. There's things here to do and play outside of what was Mortal Kombat games back in the day, which were pretty much just arcade games, and Street Fighter games that were pretty much just arcade games. Yeah, this isn't a weird thing. This is credit to the game that Tekken is essentially carried by casuals for the most part, because it actually has content. They make it a real video game. Tekken 6 is no different, but what the hell are they doing? When you want to do an arcade mode for a character, you expect an ending. You go through arcade mode, there's no ending. You're like, what? What happened? And I'm told I have to go through scenario campaign to actually get their ending. I'm like, well, okay. So then you go through scenario campaign, and then eventually as you play it for like an hour or something like that, you unlock this arena. And in the arena is the roster, but it's a limited roster. You only get like the character that you just fought and like one that you choose, and that's it. Everybody else is grayed out, and you're like, okay, so I guess I'll just pick the one that I chose. And there is arcade mode. Oh, but it's limited. It's like only like 3 or 4 fights, similar to like Tekken 7 was. You only get like story-specific fights. None of that bullshit in between. It's got a cutscene. It's got dialogue. It's got like CG. It's got the whole thing. And it's like, wow, this is actually really good. The weird part about it is that for some reason, it's stuck behind scenario campaign. It's stuck behind a really slow campaign mode that you have to play a shit ton to unlock these characters. I'm mind blown. I almost didn't even realize this game had endings for its characters because of it. Back in the day, I didn't even do this shit, right? It's just so baffling to me that they almost force you to play through their scenario campaign to just do the thing that you used to do in Tekken. Like, I just want my character story and I'm done, right? Or a few character stories, I'm done. You actually have to play through the scenario campaign to do that. Whoa. So anyway, I mean, the scenario campaigns got rewards for it. You get gear, you can sell gear, you get more stuff to customize your characters. Everything about the game, as we can see from the screen here, they are literally, it's all about your character. Everything in this game is about customizing your dude or dudette and getting them all geared up and looking in a crazy way. So I get that. It's just in several other ways, I just don't feel like this game has the charisma of Tekken 5, and I'm gonna leave this one off with the music. Tekken 6 has some of the most massive bangers in Tekken history, bro. Music and stages in this game have some of the most like, oh, this is the best the series will ever get. And in my opinion, has some of the most mid shit ever. Like some of the stages in this game are also like really forgettable and kind of rough and not good on the eyes and not really visually interesting. And then you get like electric fucking fountain. You get like the sheep stage or some shit. It's really weird how I look back at the better Tekken games, and something that's kind of consistent is that usually the music in a lot of these games is great. Most of the music is great, and most of the stages are great. And while I think there is some good bits here for sure, that, like I said, best in the series, like half of it's kind of like, it's okay. It's okay. Weirdly enough, and I don't want to talk about it, a lot of it feels alleviated in Tekken Tag 2. So, you know, maybe that was just part of their plan. All in all, I think there's a lot to appreciate in Tekken 6. And, oh my god, I didn't even mention Rage Mode. Oh my god, Rage Mode. So also mechanically, they add a comeback feature to the game in a game that already has ridiculously high damage on its combos, right? They add a comeback feature to the game called Rage. This isn't a thing that's like new to Tekken. It was around in previous games like a little bit because there was the missing health bar shit in Tag 1 technically was there. This shit is extreme. Like your character's glowing red and they're pissed off, right? So Rage seems to give you like a massive boost in Tekken 6, like a really big boost. As I'm playing through it and realizing the difference on combo damage, it's like, okay, so, you know, our average damage is getting like 90 to 100 if I get the wall, right? Which is a lot. And then if Rage is included, like we're getting close to like 120 to 130 to 140 damage. It's like, holy shit, dude, you're almost dead. Like, if I touch you, if I land one rando goddamn orbital or some shit, you're just dead? So I can see why this is kind of polarizing for a lot of the Tekken audience. Because the Rage stuff on top of the new combo stuff and the stage is blowing up all over the place and all this kind of stuff is like, whew, okay, so this is brutal. It's a little all over the place, and obviously some characters taking advantage of new mechanics way better than others. You play a character like Lars, and then you go to Jin, and you're like, oh man, Jin is like lacking in this game. He's missing some shit. And then, you know, other characters just have access to the world with new mechanics, and they're just so good at it. Bob is stupid. It's like, I can see why it's a bit polarizing. I really do. And ultimately, I can see that like Tekken 6 might have gotten like a lot of its initial sales because Tekken 5 was amazing, but maybe not everybody loved it. There's a lot of game here to enjoy and a lot of game to play, but what would happen after this is the biggest franchise failure in Tekken history, which is Tag 2. And it's unfortunate because Tag 2 has some of the most love and care put into it of any Tekken game. So I'm very curious to check that out because Tag 2 just takes all the assets of Tekken 6 and the majority of like what they had worked on for years and just cram everything into one game. And to me, a lot of people nowadays look at Tag 2 super fondly. So that's what we're going to check out next time. It has the most stuff of a Tekken game ever. And yeah. So why the hell did it do so bad?